Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace to the rest of you. This is Black Heart Sign and Black in again. Asking you to hit that share button first, and then you can decide for yourself about the like and the subscribe buttons, because the message is more important than the messenger. And if it was not, I would not have recorded this. So, yesterday I was in two Hangouts. I want to give shouts out to Roger Stevens of the Roger Report, and shouts out to Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Edward Anderson. I want to give a shout out to Charmy because, and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, she was on a Hangout and she gave some valuable information. Now, this is information many of us have said before as men, but I was unaware that sisters were conscious of this information. She said, black women are really not angry at black men. They want to stunt on these white women. That told me a lot. And I'm going to say to black women this. Charmy, if you hear this, please tell your subscribers that Blackheart said this. Black women, I do believe that men could do a better job of telling you this, but I also believe that men are beginning to do that better job of telling you this, what I'm about to tell you right now. And that is this. Morally and aesthetically, you are already competing with and winning against white women. Morally and aesthetically. Financially, you're not. That's not your fault. It's not ours. But morally and aesthetically, you are competing against and winning against white women. That's it. They don't have your body type. They don't have, generally speaking, your morality. They're just part of a more functioning patriarchy to which they themselves voluntarily returned after the feminist movement, but they're not morally beyond you at all. When you start smoking at age 13 and you think it's cool and you tell your parents, I need money for cigarettes, and you curse your parents out, and that becomes normal part and parcel of the culture, that's not okay. And there are many of them who don't do this, but do they kick the ass of those who do? No, they don't. So that means that it is acceptable in their culture and it is not acceptable in ours. 13-year-old in our community smokes, some adults gonna beat that ass and tell mama, who's gonna beat that ass again. Cuss out mom or dad in our community, we know what happens. You're getting that ass whooped. It's considered blasphemy almost, and to a certain extent it should be. We may go overboard with the discipline, but there is a message that is sent. You don't disrespect your elders. But I'm going to say this, though. Sisters, the reason you don't realize that you are actually competing with these white women in many cases is because there are two kinds of brothers that are telling you that you're not. Now, these two kinds of brothers are very vocal. Very vocal. Oh, my God, are these niggas vocal. One is the young guy. Young people in general, male or female, are susceptible to brainwashing, and I don't forgive us for that. I understand the phenomena, but I don't forgive us for being as susceptible to brainwashing as we are even in our teens. A child before his or her teens, you can understand being brainwashed. I don't forgive a teenager for that. Why? Because a teenager is capable of thinking critically and understandably and analytically. They just don't. They don't because they're not socialized to do it, but they do have the capacity. So, yeah. The other kind of guy that does not tell you this, and it will actually tell you you're not competing against the white cave Becky, is the guy who, regardless of his age, simply does not think analytically and think for himself and independently. He thinks with the crowd and with the trends, like in same as if he is prepubescent, even if he's in his 50s. He'll say this. So, consequently, because they're vocal, you think that that's how many black men feel. Most black men don't feel this way. You may not know this, but because I am a man and I socialize with men, I know this. Many brothers still prefer you to white cave Beckys. That doesn't mean you don't have some stuff you need to fix. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to sit up and tell brothers, you're going to have to step away from African American women. Not black women. I said African American specifically. This is going to be because they're pushing you away. It's not because I hate them. It's not because we hate sisters, but it is going to be because, yes, African American, not African, but African American, and Western black women and westernized black women in general push men away unless these men are in top probably 13 to 12% of wealth and height and fame. Those are the only guys that sisters don't push away when the sister is also westernized and attractive to look at, even if she's in the middle. We are dealing with a skewed market. Other thing is this. The only guys that you want to tell you that you are more attractive are the ones that are in that top 13% of wealth and height and fame and probably even muscles too. You're looking for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to come out and say this, and that's because of his muscles, because otherwise he'd just be another light-skinned guy. You're looking for you're looking for Morris Chestnut, even though he's married to a black woman, to come out and say this. You're looking for not the normal brother, even if he's attractive to you. You're looking for the famously attractive men to come out and tell you this. You want Tyrese Gibson to ditch his wife because she's light-skinned and then get him a chocolate sister and say this. Now, granted, his wife did identify herself as non-black in some previous occasions. I think he found this out afterwards, if he even found out. But that's a different story. Because if he really didn't believe that she was a black queen, he wouldn't have said this on social media with her image being what it was. Because he would have known, oh, I'm about to look stupid. If you're going to have someone looking like that and you say this is your black queen, that means you got to believe that stuff. I know how men think. He didn't find out till afterwards how unblack she is, even though she does have black ancestry. And no, Tyrese did not run to her specifically because she is exotic. That's not why he did it. But that's another recording for another time. Let me go ahead and start and get to the meat of this. First thing, I want y'all to understand, brothers and sisters. Mostly brothers, you need to understand this. We do have to step away. We have to take the SYSBM route. We have to step away from specifically African American women and pretty much westernized black women in general. You're going to have to step away from the UK, even a lot of Jamaican women. They westernized. And I'm sorry, but Western culture is jacked up and inferior. You're going to have to step away from them. A lot of us realize this, but we have to understand what it doesn't mean, and that's what I want to clear up. When you leave a place, you got to know where you're going. And you got to know where you're not going. So I'm going to tell you some things about where you have to not go in order to be safe. Because it's important. Black men, you need to not go to the white cave woman. Leave her. Now, Eastern European women are probably different. It depends on how westernized they are. I really don't know what to tell you. Some of you will know more than me. But I'm going to tell you now, leave them white women alone. They're not playing games with you. They're just not. The only time they play a game is to win more later. Right now, these women are not, they're not going to let you off the hook easily either. It doesn't matter if you cheat or if she cheats, they're not letting you off the hook easily. You're going to have to go through some extra stuff if you're going to be with them. You also need to understand that if you do find the exception who's really not racist and really does see you as equal, truly does, even if you're different, you got to understand that her family's not going to all be that way. You're going to still face bias. When you deal with someone whose people, it doesn't have to be the individual. If their people have a history of contention with black folks and disrespecting black folks, then you must understand that if you don't face that racism from the woman herself, you will face it from your in-laws. Somewhere down the line, you're going to catch it. So don't go for the cave woman. Leave her butt out there by herself because that's the safest thing for you. The second thing you have to understand, it's important that you understand this. You have to understand that you can't go towards other non-whites whose people have the same history of contention with us. You see, now we're forcing ourselves by walking away from African American women and pretty much westernized black women in general to come to a detailed knowledge of which groups are neutral, which groups are allies, and which groups are enemies. And I'm gonna put it to you like this. Individuals you take as individuals, and we've all agreed on that. You're not gonna walk up to the first person named Ali Khan because he's from Pakistan, and punch him in his nose. Because even though he brown, his hair's straight. It's not the way you do it. What you're going to do is you're going to take him as an individual, sure. You work with him as an individual, sure. But what you're not going to do is you ain't going to let him come to you about marrying your sister, and you're not going to try to marry one of his sisters. Because even if she approves and he approves, you got to understand that his family's not going to. They don't do that. Sometimes the families will say, well, he's not good enough, meaning you, because he's not from our village and our tribe, let alone our country. There will be those who will say that. This does happen. You got people that are not white, and they don't want anyone in their family marrying someone that is white because of what they are not. You do have this, but you're going to also face in-laws who would say, so what if he's not one of us? The problem is that he's black. It wouldn't matter if he was white. It would be okay. You're going to face that. You're not going to be able to tolerate that. And you're going to want to kick some of your in-laws in the gut, and that's going to ruin your marriage. Believe that. So, even though we have not come to a detailed knowledge as a community of who to leave alone, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, because I've used my phenotype to spy on not only white folks, but to learn some stuff accidentally. I didn't even have to try to do it. They don't hide this stuff very well. I've learned stuff about certain other groups. And I'm going to tell you where, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you now. I don't want no nigga discussions. I don't want no nigga arguments about this shit, because you're going to talk about exceptions. I'm telling you what the rules are. So if you disagree, you can say, I disagree. But what I'm telling you is fuck the shuck up. And if we have to do a hangout about this later, you can say I disagree, but that better be your last sentence, because I'm telling you this from first-hand knowledge. And I do not debate about what I witnessed with my own eyes and ears. What I'm telling you is from first-hand knowledge, looking at you, looking at them, listening to what they have said. It comes down to this. Leave alone Indian women. Unless they're from southern India and they know that they're black and the family knows that they're black, leave them alone. Leave alone Pakistani women. Don't get me started on the Persian and the Afghan women. You only better know them as a classmate or a co-worker, even if y'all are friends. If you're going to be with one of them, you better run far away from her family. And the children are raised as black. End of story. That's it. Their cultures are inferior even to ours because they're racist. We don't side with oppressors against the oppressed. When one of us does that, the rest of us call them coons and sellouts. It's not part and parcel of the culture. In their case, it is part and parcel of the culture. You side with the oppressor against the oppressed, against the victim. You can't afford to let that sense be passed on to your children. So leave these women alone. Eurasians, like the ones from the Stans countries, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, I doubt it. You can tell me, I admit that I don't really know, but you tell me. I'm really not sure. I know Afghanistan, no, don't do it. They got an insult for black people. It's only for black people. I forgot how to say the word, but if I heard it, I would recognize it. This insult does not apply to anybody that's not black. They singled you out for one of the insults, and this insult is understood in all of the languages in Afghanistan. They don't all speak one language, but all of the language speakers understand this one word. I don't remember if it came from the Farsi or the Pashto language. It don't make a goddamn bit of difference to me. What are they doing with this? They don't have an insult for white people based on how they look. So you see, you can leave sisters behind, but you can't go running to everybody else. We already know about that white woman. You should know. I'm gonna quote Eddie Griffin. Ask OJ, Kobe, Tiger Woods, it ain't no good. So I'm gonna tell you, leave them alone. Not because they're no good individuals, but because you're going to run into racist family members. That's a guarantee. But see, if you got problems with white folks, you're a reverse racist. And even that individual would tell you something like that. Next, don't get me started on some of the mestizos. I'm not saying to leave alone and run away from the Afro-Latinas. It's up to you. It's up to her. So long as they know that they're black. But you need to run the F away from the mestizos, the ones that'll tell you simple. If they say they're not black and they're Latino, bounce, gone, done with. Arabs, it better be a black Arab, and they better know they black. Otherwise, bounce, get away from her. Because she's going to have relatives that are going to ask, even if they don't hate you, they're going to ask her, why did you marry a black man and not a white one? They're going to ask that. Someone's going to ask it, and if you learn enough Arabic, you're going to understand what they say, and you're going to want to kick him in his gut. And I'm going to be mad if you understand it and you don't kick this nigga in his gut. And what's going to happen? If you don't kick him in the gut, I'm pissed at you. I'm going to call you a sellout and a coon, probably. And if you do kick him in the gut, your marriage is over. Because I'm going to tell you, choose between them. Arabs that are not black or that just don't know they're black, you can't afford it. Or they won't say and confess that they're black, you can't afford to be with them. You just can't. You can't afford even giving them a chance. I don't mean you got to blame the good individual woman, but I am saying you can't marry her. Leave that woman alone. And I'm also saying you can't be romantically involved with her. Even if she's Christian and she doesn't have a religious belief against it, leave her butt alone. You don't need her. You need a break from her, not her. That's another thing. You got to understand, you also got to understand this. You have some people that you can afford to give a shot to because their families are not going to turn against you, not even halfway split down the middle because you're black. And that's going to be Southeast Asia. That's going to be them tropical Asian countries that the other Asian nations don't look at with respect. That's going to be Laos, Cambodia, not Thailand, not anymore. Unless maybe you're dealing with some really dark ties in the countryside. No, not even them, because the urban Thailand is becoming more anti-black as time goes on. So no, not even them. You're talking about the Philippines, Laos, Cambodia. I'm sure you're talking about Malaysia, Indonesia. You're going to be talking about, the Philippines. And I'm going to tell you what's good about the Philippines. Those of you who are Muslim, you can go to the south and marry a southerner from Mindanao. If you're Catholic or some other type of Christian, you can go pretty much anywhere else in the Philippines and marry a Christian. So the Philippines are good. If you care about your race and your religion, the Philippines are great. They do not hate black folks. Neither the Muslim or the Christians do not have a problem with you because you're black. It's not a racist country. That's the end of it. So, you'll see some of the women using skin bleach. You'll see some of them telling the women don't stay out in the sun too long. But they're not going to have a problem with you because you're black. And you could be a jet black man. They're not going to take issue with that. So go ahead and give it a shot. But just understand this. When you're going to turn and you're going to walk off from African American sisters because they're pushing you away, and that's the reason why you got to do it, you got to know where to go and where not to go. Now that I've done with that point, I finished that point, I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is about, it's the topic Edward Anderson raised. Now, if I do a hangout on this topic, it would only be with him unless he says go ahead and do the topic even if I'm not there. Otherwise, I would only do a hangout with him present. But and then that would be at the suggestion of some other people. But right now, single-handedly, without a hangout and no panel, I'm going to address more about the topic that he addressed, which is that when you start talking about how the black family is going to be in trouble because, frankly, black American men and black American women can't even get together and stay together. And frankly, they can't even meet if the man is productive, thinking, not stereotypical enough. Then you are met and rebuffed by not only the women, but also these matriarchal ass niggas that come along and say, well, you're just old, no pussy getting ass incel and you mad and that's why you raising this argument. What I want y'all to understand is this. When a group of women have a mate selection criteria that mirrors that of the bighorn sheep on the sides of the Rocky Mountains, not being able to get none in that community means you're doing something right. That's what that means. That's all it means. When you have a community that demands that you pretty much be your enemy's negative stereotype of you as a man, in order for your own women to determine that you are in fact man enough to get the draws, let alone have your own children, conceive your own offspring, and raise them yourself, then their non-selection of you is a compliment. I'm not saying that when black women don't want you, it's a compliment to you. I'm saying that if African American women as a whole don't want you, it's a compliment as long as their standards are based on white people's negative stereotypes. And that's exactly what the hell we're facing right now. We know, brothers know what you gotta be for black women to want you. And in part, black women they're basing their attraction to you, while telling you that it's involuntary and they can't help it. They're basing their attraction to you in part on white men's fear of you and how intimidated by you white men are. And even to a certain extent, how intimidated by you other men are. They're not really looking for confidence. Women in general do look for a man to be confident. African American women and westernized black women in general are looking for a man to have swag, and they're looking for a man to know how to talk to women. Now, these are not necessarily bad things to have and bad things to know, but I want you to notice something. I want you to notice a pattern. This pattern is very simple. If you haven't noticed it before, you will notice it now, and it's a very simple way to prove that this is in fact a pattern. Nicole Michelle is the best example of this, but she's not the only example. Ask a woman what the fuck that means. Define swag and define how to talk to women and how not to talk to them. Now, these could take long times to explain, but you're gonna find they're not going to tell you that. They don't even if they could explain it, they would not tell you, because they want you to just know so that they can feel like it's magic when somebody appeals to them. The proof that it's not magic is in one simple outcome, and that outcome is that they wind up sharing the same few men. That simply means there are a few guys that know because they're lucky enough to know, and most men don't know because there's no class, there's no formal lesson on it, and there's no formal definition for it. There's not even a vague definition in our minds that we can put into some kind of words. Knowing how to talk to women depends on large part and parcel. It depends largely on how other women are looking at you when you go into the room. Swag depends on how others are looking at you when you go into a room. What are you swaggering about? See, swag is short form for the term swagger, and swagger is just the verb meaning to walk confidently, even arrogantly. It actually means to walk arrogantly, to sway a little bit when you walk to show more confidence. And swag is the noun that is taken from that as a short form. Well, here's the problem. When you walk into the room with swag, that means you swaggered into the room. Now, what the hell are you swaggering about? Well, if you walk in with the same swag because you just wrote a code for a new video game, you better have a hell of a lot of money and fame to show for it, or black women don't want to see that shit. That's real. Now, if you walk in there because you just signed a contract with the NBA and you famous, that's okay. Zion Williamson can walk into a room with swag because of that, and it's called swag because he's dunking on Negroes. Or because he's standing way back on the court and shooting and knocking brothers out. You know, getting points for his team and costing points for the other team. Something like that. That's what's going on there. So when he does it as swag, but if you walk him with the same walk because of something you did that is not stereotypically applied to black folks, then it's not swag. You a dumbass nigga, because why would you brag about that? That's nothing to be proud of. Even unless, of course, you made a killing, you made a ton of money for it. And even then, but best believe you take two successful men, and one of them is successful because of something that he wrote, and another one is successful because of his because of an athletic ability. Them sisters are gonna try to get either one, but if they don't get the one with the athletic ability, they're gonna cheat with him. That's best believe that's what's gonna happen. That's really what's gonna happen. Even within the NFL, Russell Wilson's first wife cheated on him with other football players, multiple teammates. From what last time I heard one story that it was just one. I heard another one that it was with more than one. Whatever the case is, she cheated. What did someone else have that Russell didn't have? It's simple. Russell is against the stereotype. Russell is a black Christian. Now, doesn't matter how alpha he is physically. He is a black Christian, and there's something about, in our community especially, there's something about being a seriously born-again Christian that doesn't just wear a crucifix and saying, giving all honor and glory to God and then my mama, but actually living by certain rules even when they're not convenient, like not fornicating and not drinking, that turns black women off. Even church black women get turned off by this kind of thing. They don't want the guy that's in the church with them. They want the guy that's outside on the corner. They may pursue him more seriously. And that's what we're dealing with. And you got to understand that when this whole incel, get no pussy argument is raised, I want you to understand one thing about this, brothers. Now, Preem was interrupting, and I can't be on a panel with him because of that reason. Not because of his view, but because he just kept interrupting. Why the fuck would you care about that, though? I'm like, damn, bro, I was trying to tell him, you know what, Preem, you don't have to worry about it. I'll worry about it for you because there's actually a tactic associated with this, and it's going to come up later on. But I didn't get a chance to finish the sentence. I didn't get a chance to start it. I was saying, Preem, this nigga just kept on talking. I don't hate him. It's not that. But Preem, we can't be on a panel together if all you're going to do is cut people off and shout at them too. Not that you hate him, but it's like you couldn't even answer the question that you were asking because you just kept on rattling off the mouth. Sorry, dude. Edward is smarter than most of us in the room. If there's someone who should interrupt, it would probably be him. But even he said, my bad, I interrupted. You ain't do that. But let me tell you why I'm going to tell you a valid reason to concern yourself with the fact that this is oftentimes brought up as a deflection. It's not about you, Preem. I'm not an incel, so why should I care? Well, see, that's a very surface level niggified argument. Okay, you're not an incel. Most black men aren't. Most black women aren't. What's going on, though, is that this argument is being used because it is a mental shield that African American women are raising. Even our mothers and grandmothers at times are raising this shield for one purpose: to avoid taking accountability for having fucked up mating criteria and then coming to other men to take on the burdens and pay the prices for these jacked up mating choices that they've made. Now, in addition to them using this as a mental shield so that they don't have to take accountability and responsibility for their womb choices they made, there's something else going on. Brothers are talking about leaving African American women, and my preference is non-American black women at this point. I'm about to marry one, so yeah, certainly that's my preference. My preference is for non-American, but black women. Preferably Muslim. And I'm going to tell you this. If more of us start to say, okay, I'm going to Southeast Asia. All right, I'm going to West Africa. I'm going to South Africa. I'm going to East Africa. Gentlemen, fuck North Africa. Don't even consider it unless you're dealing with a black North African who knows she's black and is glad she's black. Right off North Africa as well. The Arabs in their minds, leave them. Told you what problems you can expect. So anyway, you got brothers that are going to say, I'm going to the continent. You got others that say, I'm going to go to not Brazil, but specifically Bahia. Okay, you got other brothers that say, I'm going to PR. I'm going to El Junque. That's why I'm going to go find me a black Spanish-speaking woman. When you got brothers that are saying, I'm stepping out away from black westernized women and Western women, done with African Americans, done with the black Britishers, even with some island nationalities that think that ratchet stuff is cool, done with them, we're out. When you start doing this, you got to understand that these women are going to push back, and they're going to, when they do the pushback, and they start saying, well, you know, these Western black men, they're just leaving because they were a bunch of incels that can't get no pussy from us. So they came to you. You have to realize that they're going to say this, and they're going to get support from the white media when they do it, so as to slander you in front of the world's women, so that you will be left actually an incel. That's why. Because I'm going to tell you now, if I'm going to prove it to you. If you still don't get what I'm saying, I'm going to explain it even better, and you'll get at this point. If I hated Egyptians, instead of just disagreeing with them culturally and linguistically, imagine that I outright hate Egyptians. I effing hate them like crackers hate us. Like we should hate the crackers. Imagine I hate them. Can't stand Egyptians. And I want to see that whole nation's population ruined. I want to see them. I want to see the nation break. I want to see chaos inside the boundaries, seal off the country so nobody leaves, and they just pass away. Tear each other apart. Guess how the hell I'm going to do it? I'm going to do exactly what the hell I'm talking about them doing now. That's how. What I would do is I would raise the income of the Egyptian woman so that the Egyptian man would be no good. I would use the media and the income to turn the Egyptian woman against the Egyptian man. I would have them to the point where they hate the way they even speak. Even though they both speak the same language with the same dialect and accent, I would have them hating it in the opposite gender's voice. I would elevate the woman, as I said, above the man financially, then use the media to turn both of them against each other, but mostly to turn the woman against the man. I'd have the woman drive the men off. Now, why would I do that? Because when the men say, okay, well, we're done with Egyptian women, we ain't dealing with Egyptian women no more, what would happen after that? Simple. They don't have time to talk about where they're going to go, right? If they don't know where they're going to go and where they're not going to go, then they're just trying to get away from Egyptian women. So naturally, they're going to treat non-Egyptian women better than Egyptian women, right? They're going to start treating their neighbors in Libya better. Oh, you're a Libyan woman. You know what? You show me respect, I'm going to show you respect. You made an honest mistake, I'm not going to trip about it because it was an honest mistake. They naturally start treating other women better. Not just Libyans, Maltese, and probably not Sudanese because they ain't into black women, but you get the idea. Now, if the Egyptian women start to say, well, they're just going for you because we won't give them none because they're not real men, which is what I would have trained them to think, then you best believe, God damn it, you're right. The first time an Egyptian woman wants to say something like this on a national media platform or an international media platform, I'm going to fund that, and I'm going to make sure that it is translated with subtitles in various languages. That's what I would do. So best believe these Billy Bob crackers are going to sit up here and support when sisters decide they're going to start saying this, not just nationally, but internationally, so that other women think this about us. Best believe, your enemy and my enemy is going to gladly fund that and put the translations and subtitles in the various languages spoken by the women who have formerly treated us with the most respect. They're going to put it in Spanish and Portuguese, specifically Brazilian Portuguese. They're going to put it in Laotian and Cambodian. Maybe even Vietnamese and Thai, just to be on the safe side. They're not just going to put that in Japanese and Korean and Chinese. No, because those women, we may already face problems with their in-laws, with their relatives that will be our in-laws. No, they're going to put this in Laotian and Cambodian and tropical languages, in Malaysian and Indonesian. They're going to put it in Tagalog and Ilocano and Visayas and Waraye. And these are Cebuano, languages that are spoken in the Philippines and in the Mindan language. They're going to put it in these languages. They're going to put it in the tribal languages that are spoken in Indonesia, not just the Bahasa Indonesia. No, they're going to put these subtitles in Sundan, or the Sundanese language, tribal tongue spoken in these areas. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You understand now the lengths to which our enemies will go. So the thing is that if we let others know right off the bat, we're not here to badmouth black women, because we don't hate them, but they're traumatized, they're suffering. They're a little angry about something that somebody else did to us, and they think that we colluded with them, and we can't prove that we didn't have anything to do with it, because you can't prove a negative. So they're going to be angry with us, but we don't hate them. When you say something like that to many people of many other cultures, even though all cultures are not the same, this is something that does tend to ring true with people in other cultures. He knows they hate him, but he doesn't hate them. This means that he was never out to get them in the first place. So chances are what he's saying is the truth, because he doesn't have a reason to get me to hate them. That's what happens. You see, when Stephen Clark, they got shot in Sacramento after he said something about dark women bring dark problems, had that girlfriend from somewhere else, and she co-signed what he said on his social media. But she may start thinking the next time, if she even has another chance, before she goes and gets her another man like that, another brother, she's probably gonna think, well, you know, when Stephen got shot, sisters didn't march for him. He ain't got that kind of support. And maybe the next guy ain't gonna have that kind of support being with me. I might lose another one if I get one. And when I lose him, I'm not gonna find this kind of support. Ain't gonna be no donations for me and my mixed babies. That's what's gonna happen in her mind. I mean, that's what's bound to go through her head. But let's say that Stephen had said, look, sisters, y'all might be mad when you see us with some other women. It boils down to us. These women like us. And if you like us, we can't tell. If you like us, we never know unless we are millionaires and tall and muscular and famous. We'd have to be a celebrity to even know that you liked one of us. We don't hate you. It's just a question of you chose for us, and we're happy with your choice. Now, if he says something like this, and his girlfriend saw that, then when the sisters don't support him when he gets shot, she's more likely to stop and think, okay, you see? Do you see? He said, I don't hate you, but you made this choice, and it wound up working out for me with her. That's all it is. And then when he got shot, sisters would not come out and support him. They wouldn't march for him. God damn. This proves that he was right and these women are wrong. So you know what? Next time, I'm going to get me one of these brothers, because this must mean they're extra strong. It must mean they're extra strong, because all their women do is sit up and blame them for being normal, penalize them for being normal, and these guys are still, they're not cracked, they're not altered by it. They just come to us with all this love and affection instead of aggression. That's more than likely what would have happened. More than likely, she would have said, you know what, yeah, better getting one of him than getting the white dude, because the white dude's going to otherize me and fetishize me. He didn't necessarily do that. She'll turn around and fetishize brothers. Now do you see what's going on? Now do you understand what would happen if you don't obsess over this incel deflection type argument, but you properly assess the argument and the strategic value of it in the hands of your enemies? Now, Preem, this is what I was trying to get at. You just kept interrupting and shouting and interrupting and shouting. Why the fuck would you care? Come on, dude. You're talking about somebody with an IQ of probably 180 pointing something out, and you just keep shouting him down. Why would you care? But what the fuck would you care for, though? But really, though, why would you care? You're not incel, so why does it matter? We were trying to explain to you there's a strategic value it has in the hands of your enemies. So what that would do is that would seal off and cut off your options, and you know damn well that's what they want to do. You know a lot of sisters want to cut off black men's other options. And they don't want to do it so that they can have the black men. They want to do it so that they can use the few black men for sex and use the rest of them to raise the babies. That's why. Sisters want a bunch of brothers to be incel so that they could control them with the possibility of sex. That's what they're looking for. That's why they've been shaming brothers who get, even if they get pursued by women of other backgrounds, they want to shame these dudes. What you want with that bitch? She was the one coming at me. Yeah, but you really wasn't rebuffing her. Okay, so you want me to be rude to her ass when I didn't even know she was approaching me. Okay, I see. That's what it comes down to. What they want these matriarchal ass niggas. These are the same ones that are telling you an incel. They're joining these sisters and saying it. Or you just an incel, can't get none, so you're mad. They want those guys to breed the babies. And then they want to be able to have you with no other options so they can come back to you to convince you that you're not good enough to do anything but feed another man's baby. He breeds, you feeds. End of story. Alpha, beta bucks, you get it. And if you don't assess this weapon of theirs with the strategic value that our enemies would gladly fund them using, damn it, man. You set yourself up. It's a defense you never raised. You built a shield, but you decided to leave this little chink, or you decided to leave this hole in the shield, not for you to peek through to see what they're doing and give you visibility, but no, just because you just don't care. I mean, that's literally what you said. I just told you what I would do if I had free reign and I hated Egyptians. And I wanted to wipe them out. If I wanted to do that. If the rest of the continent, because we know they can't stand Nigeria, if the rest of the continent decided to act on one accord to ruin Nigeria and get rid of Nigerians, this is the strategy for them. Turn the women against the men. Vilify each one to the other in the media. Then drive the men away from the, or use rather, get the women to drive the men away from them. And then when the men start looking outward, get the women to say certain things and fund it so that it seems credible. Make it look credible because it's all over the media. And what you got? You have Nigerian men ain't got nowhere to go. So then the women can sit up here and use the few men that they want to screw and have their babies. And then those same women turn around and go to these other guys they don't want to screw and tell them, well, you raise the babies because you ain't good for nothing else, no way. And what does this do? Well, what this does is it causes a problem wherein a lot of the children are siblings to each other, whether they know it or not. And if they know it, they don't get together. Lowers the population. And if they don't know and they wind up getting together, you lower the health of the population before the population itself becomes lowered. And you ruin the people. And you bring them down to a number that is of no consequence to the rest of the continent. You can take the most populous country in Africa and make them of no consequence in 2 generations if you do something like that. Well, fortunately for Nigeria, and for the enemies of Africa, that's not how Africa is. It's not united and on one accord like that, and we don't think that way. But I've told you what you can do if you really want to do the people in. Well, we got an enemy that wants to do us in. So that's part of why I'm telling you don't run for their women. That's part of why I'm telling you leave their women alone. But you also have to think strategically about how you're going to not lose your options. Because understand this, dirty macking ain't just for dudes. Dirty macking's also for any enemy of yours. Whatever his or her gender is, whatever origin or nationality they come from. Dirty macking's universal. I hope this has been a benefit. Blackheart, signing black out. Assalamu alaikum.